Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There may be strong language and adult themes.
Does that mean I have to leave?
You're an adult theme.
No, you're allowed to be childish. You can't be a child.
Remember, you can be young.
Okay.
You can be young once. You're only young once. You can be emotionally immature forever.
Yep.
And so far, all we have is Pragmatic Crystal in the chat.
Yep. Crystal's the only one who said anything yet. StreamYard says we've got 6 people watching, so there must be at least one lurker, even if all 4 of us are logged in.
All right. Well, no, I am not.
So anyway, today is the summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere. It's the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere. Mark Caesar, hello. And Carol. There were a few people out there. So after today, the days are going to start getting shorter again.
I'm actually kind of glad about that.
Oh, yeah. I would have thought you would have wanted the maximum daylight for your garden.
It's not always the best.
He lives in Florida.
Well, we actually have to wait a while before the days start to get shorter. You know, it's kind of like the Earth has got to get over the hill of its ellipse.
You have to think about it for a while. Less daylight means less time for Florida man and woman to make shenanigans.
It's less time for the sun to try and kill you.
And now we've got Greg Hartwick and Antjer and NJ.
Oh,
yeah, we're getting a good crowd here. I don't know. I don't think the sun is actually trying to kill me. I think it's still oblivious to me.
Well, just move to Florida. It'll be trying to kill you.
I think there's only one Florida man we should ever make fun of.
Yeah, honestly, for me, moving to Florida, it probably would kill me because I've never lived south of Chicago. I did wind up with my brother driving through the South one summer. Yeah, that was not fun.
All right, so it's the solstice for those of you a pagan bent, which I am not. Let's see, what is that?
Well, I used to be pagan, and I still have some pagan remnants.
So that means
the winter solstice is still the biggest holiday of the year to me. The summer one is not something I pay as much attention to as I used to.
That means it's Litha for those who are celebrating that. For those of us who are more atheistic or agnostic, it's the longest day of the year. Happy solstice.
Yep. Hey, Scummer. If anybody in the side chat wants to join in, let us know.
Forget it. We don't want any of them.
And Oxen, alias fake name. Yesterday, I actually got to meet people in person, so I had lunch with alias fake name and Prophet Azad.
Huh.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So tell us all about it. What are they like?
Tall. I was wearing 2-inch heels, and I still didn't come up to either of their chins.
Wait, you haven't been banned from wearing high heels?
I'm trying to find some shoes that don't have heels. I don't need to be 6 feet tall.
Why not? Tall is sexy.
Yeah, but I'm like at the top end of what's considered tall for a woman in the U.S. to begin with, even before I put the shoes on.
Yeah, my physical therapist banned me from wearing high heels a while ago.
Yeah.
And going roller skating.
Why would they do that?
Because my ankles are unstable.
Oh, that kind of therapist.
Yeah, physical therapist, not...
Yeah, okay, I get that.
Yeah.
Oh.
The other kind of therapist you were thinking of would not ban that.
And the trusty ape.
So, I know it's a tragedy for some people, But I hear there's banging coming from the area where the sub was found. Does anyone think it's the orcas
No,
claiming that they're taking responsibility by using Morse code?
no. I really would rather we don't make
Yeah.
funnies about this going on. This is horrible.
It does sound like it was something that was rather ill-conceived, but yeah, I'm not really making jokes about it. I mean, it must be terrifying to be trapped down there and feeling that helpless.
I mean, this would be like Diesel's rocket ship taking a bunch of visitors up to space and exploding halfway up or something. It's just, I don't care who's on board and how rich they are or how much of an asshole they are. Nobody deserves to die that way.
I will say, seeing the news story about was it Bezos or Musk or something who was getting a new yacht, I am Team Walker in that respect.
Yeah, well,
Bezos need a new yacht? Yeah, some people have dark senses of humor, though, too. So
the whole thing with the orcas, though, worries me because I just don't see this ending in any way that's going to be good for the whales. I am sure that whales are going to wind up getting killed before this is over.
Let's also consider they might not be stopping with yachts.
No.
Well, it hasn't actually been yachts. The whales have been specifically targeting sailboats.
Yes.
Not any other kind of boats. It's always been a sailboat. And that implies a specific grudge. Which also doesn't surprise me if they feel that the sailboats have been harassing them for years.
Here's the thing, though. Look, I kind of agree with what Jenny said. There's people on that sub. Listen, look, I really hope there's a happy ending to that story. I don't think there's going to be, but you don't wish that upon anyone. But it's a little irritating to me how especially the newspapers in our country have run that as a front page story for several days and barely said a word about a boat full of migrants that sunk in the English Channel with a lot of people drowning last week. So, yeah. You can see who these people kind of actually care about.
from what little I've seen, it looks like a lot of engineering problems and shortcuts that went into this boat or submersible.
Yeah, well, that's from what I've seen. It seems like the design and construction were not really up to the standards for going to that depth.
Did you know that particular vessel had done this dozens of times before?
No, and I was actually looking for that, of whether or not they had tested it at that depth before, and I was not able to find anything.
I heard him discussing it this morning on Morning Show News as a story talking about it, and it's done this for many times.
Okay, so this was not the first trip. That does change things a bit.
Are you sure it was that? How deep did it go down? I know the glass was rated to like 1,300 feet, which is not as deep as the Titanic is.
Yeah, Titanic's about 13,000 feet.
Or sorry, I might be getting that confused with meters, but because the Titanic is around 4,000 meters.
Well, considering it was a tour of the Titanic, I would say that they had to go down at least 12,500 feet.
Yeah.
Or 12,800 feet or something like that.
Well, that's what Google is saying. It's about 12,500 feet for the wreck of the Titanic, which is a depth of about 3,800 meters.
But isn't the Titanic governed under Canadian maritime law, though?
I wasn't sure whose jurisdiction it was under, but yeah, I know it was.
I think so, yeah.
I know the wreck was claimed to be basically something like a historic site. You know, just to make sure that nobody can tamper with it or take anything away from it.
I would imagine it's like covered like a UNESCO site or something like that. I would imagine.
Well, I know there are certain like shipwrecks in the Great Lakes you can't dive to now because they're considered grave sites.
That is correct.
Yeah.
You can dive on any boat. You just can't take anything from them if they're protected.
Because I know, sorry.
That's how I understand it, anyways.
But I don't know if that's Ontario. I've just been watching a lot of the wrong videos. If that's Ontario law or Canadian law.
I know that's the law in Wisconsin for Great Lakes.
Because I know it's like they can't do any further dives on the Edmund Fitzgerald without permits.
Well, yeah, requiring permits may very much be a thing. I know there's a lot of wrecks of World War II ships that they got very concerned because, you know, people were pirating them. They were trying to salvage the steel from them.
But I don't know if the Titanic sank in international waters or if it's just close enough to the coast that it's in Canadian waters.
It looks like it's a couple 100 miles out.
Yeah, that should be international.
I believe that would be international, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just guessing where I see them put the X on the map on TV.
Wreck is in Canadian waters.
It is, okay.
Okay.
Greedy Canadians.
Well, no, I think the U.S. and Canada claim a zone about 200 miles out from the coast.
Yeah, I was pretty sure anything over 12 miles was international waters.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a fuzzy area that, yeah, officially international waters was either 12 or 18 miles. But like I said, I think that the U.S. and Canada claim, like, not technically international waters, but they claim they have, like, a protective zone out to 200 miles.
Maritime law is very odd. It's way different than landlubber law.
Well, the sub's just called the Titan, not the Titanic.
Yeah.
I personally think it's a little ghoulish of them to want to go and tour the Titanic.
I understand people's fascination with them, but yeah, I agree that it really is a mass grave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm completely comfortable if they send robot submersibles down there, but not loaded with people.
I think in that respect, the movie's got a lot to answer for. In that respect, I mean, with the curiosity of the Titanic, I can tell that from, you know, I know that from my own sort of local experience because the place I live, the city I'm from, is where the Titanic sailed from, and a lot of people who died on that ship were, you know, local people to where I live. And I can tell you, it was something that for like several generations, it was just not spoken about. It was one of those things locally, we don't speak about the Titanic.
Athena.
May I respond to Ox's notation there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why you would say that, Ox, but you know, it's always been humans' nature to go and test their limits and go beyond their limits. It's what we do.
If they pull it off, it's an impressive engineering feat.
Well, you know, I see that as being the tourist thing for the billionaires that, you know, really they have to feel it's a life-threatening situation to make it worth their while. You know, and it's like, yeah, if you go in with that attitude, if you're a thrill seeker and you go do things that are life-threatening, once in a while, it's going to backfire.
Yeah. It's like that flat earther that built his own steam-powered rocket. You know, I thought it was laughable that he was trying this, but it was sad that sad that it killed him.
Yeah.
He had
by all accounts, he was quite a nice guy. You know, you know, he obviously had some weird beliefs, but you know, by all accounts, he was quite a decent guy.
Yeah, well, he wasn't one of the grifters. He obviously was sincere about it.
Yeah.
I think he actually didn't he have successful rockets before though.
Yeah, he had gone up in some small rockets he had built before, not quite to the same altitude.
Yeah.
I mean, he was at least. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yes.
He was at least an aeronautical engineer, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he had
hadn't
some
heard
things
that,
that had
and I can't-
successfully flown.
Or
No,
some type of
I
engineer.
can't believe that he was. I mean, wouldn't you have been a lot more careful with how you design your parachute?
I don't know if he built anything that had actually carried a person, but he had built rockets.
He had a test flight.
Here's the thing, though. I've got to say about him. You know that. Okay, is whatever his beliefs is far out there as his beliefs were. He's one of the few flat earthers that was actually trying to demonstrably prove his theory. Like, you know, where so in that respect, I'll actually. I mean, you know, look.
I give him credit for that.
Trying to take a rocket to limits of space or whatever to prove whether space is wrong. I mean, that is at least, you know, a scientific approach of some kind.
Yeah.
And it's not one of these flat earthers who's just like, space is fake.
Yeah.
Jerry.
I agree with you. He definitely deserves credit for at least trying to prove his batshit claims.
Well, that's what I mean. You know, he was sincere in his beliefs. He wasn't just arguing for the sake of the argument.
Thanks to Netflix, we do know that flat earthers have tried safer experiments to prove the shape of the Earth and failed.
They're what's called purposes. They're called interesting experiments.
Well, the one guy died recently. I forget his name. The guy with
Bob Liddell.
Yeah, Bob Liddell.
He kind of became a meme because of the gyroscope thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks, Bob.
They lost a number of people to COVID because they're also anti-vaxxers.
But and there's the other guy. They lost from cancer, wasn't it? Because apparently he was getting treatment and then got convinced to do like alternative medicine.
Yeah.
And you know that was that Antonio Subarats or whatever. Which I didn't have much. You know, I didn't have much time for that man at all. But still not happy that the guy's died. You know, so
yeah. Well, that's the dangerous part of the woo is that the people turn away from the legitimate medicine.
Oh, and if someone wants to look up a similar incident to what might have happened here, even though we don't know, it's the USS Thresher.
I posted about that this morning.
Yeah.
I think I might be the only person old enough to remember it.
Well, I remember coming across the name, but I couldn't remember the exact details of what they think happened. So.
Yeah, that's the same. That I remembered it as a historical incident, but that was a year before I was born.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I didn't have anything to say.
Oh, I thought you. Sorry, it's like
no. If I have anything to say, it was just a very sad occasion. 129 men died, and they died because the thing failed its ability to be as deep as it was. It was involved in some deep water testing.
Yeah,
I'm making my mouth shut.
I don't know if they ever decided if they knew what began the compression or the problem that there, you know, that if there was some kind of failure that they couldn't control the sub, and so it sank until it got to the point of implosion, or what? I don't really know that much about it that way.
Yeah, from what I've read about it, they still don't really have a definitive cause for why it went as deep as it did.
Yeah. It was definitely an implosion that finished it off. There are pictures of the wreck, and you can clearly see the cracking and stuff of steel that it doesn't exactly just happen. It just looks like a horrible thing.
Yeah,
I can't imagine the terror that the sailors felt in those last few minutes.
Well, and that's how I'm feeling about the tourist sub, that just being trapped down there and helpless would be so terrifying. Yeah. That you can't get out of there. They have to, desperately hope somebody is going to find them in time, and realizing that they have a very limited amount of time because the oxygen's going to run out.
Yeah, and that's if they're still. That's even if they're still alive to begin with.
That's the best case scenario, that it didn't start leaking.
Mm.
Yeah, it's not like they're going to see a bunch of bubbles on the surface if they implode.
NJ wants to know why you're dressed as a referee.
I watched it at Southampton Football Club, who got relegated from the Premier League this year. So, because our team is absolutely awful.
How did Ryan Reynolds' team do?
I believe Wrexham. I think they got promoted into the Football League, actually. But yeah.
Oh.
On the other hand, the baseball team for the university I go to, I think, won the NCAA championship for their division this year.
Mm.
What school's that?
Indiana State.
I'm not a big, massive baseball fan, but for some reason I've got a Red Sox shirt for some reason, which I don't know why the hell I'd pick them as a team, because they were the last team to integrate, with color black players into so I don't know why I'd pick them as a team, but
the Green Monster attracted you.
Are they
probably,
good?
Yeah.
Are they good players?
Yeah. Well,
I couldn't tell you the name of anybody who's playing professional baseball right now.
Yeah,
neither could I.
This is
I probably couldn't.
It's just a local interest. It's not a professional team. It's the university's team.
Yeah.
That's some of the most exciting ball is when it's college or little league. Little league is really exciting to watch. These kids are very, very good, and you can just see the enthusiasm in their hearts. It's just wonderful.
Especially entertaining when you see what's going on in the stands with all the parents.
However, when they show the Little League World Series on television, I've been over that mountain you can see in the background, and it's scary going over them in some places, especially if there's a cliff overlooking, like US 15 goes down there. You can see a cliff goes down to the Susquehanna, and it overlooks the Williamsport Airport.
Well, when I lived in St. Paul, it was actually when the professional baseball teams had gone on strike that we wound up going to see the St. Paul Saints, which is the Twins farm team. And yeah, I found that a whole lot more enjoyable than the professional team, because these were the guys who are trying to prove that they were good enough to advance to the professional team. So they were really putting their all into it.
Well, we're just not big enough to have a.
Was this in the 90s, wasn't there? There was the MLB went on strike, didn't they? The Players Union.
Yeah, I think so.
Jen, I think that's Major's bird you're probably hearing in the background.
Nope, I don't have my bird out.
That would be mine. I'm outside.
Oh, okay. So those are British. That's funny. I didn't think the bird had a British accent.
Yeah.
We're just not big enough to have a professional team here. It's just not that big a place.
No, mine's a Sun Conure. It's going to have a lot different sound than that.
So I'm normally up in my room or whatever in this, but it's just so hot up there at the moment. I just decided to come down outside for a bit. So
Yankees are baseball.
Yeah, NJ, I know that Yankees are a baseball team, but only because there was a musical made about them.
Yeah,
Damn
like
Yankees.
I said, I've got a Red Sox shirt, so I should hate the Yankees. I believe I'm supposed. Believe if you're going to support Boston, you have to hate the New York Yankees.
Well, I do remember my brother-in-law was mad at me once because I told him the Philadelphia Phillies had a better chance of winning the Super Bowl than the Eagles.
Thank you. Hey, thank you, Stu.
Hey, they won a couple. The Eagles won a couple years after that.
The Eagles made it to the Super Bowl last year.
Well,
Yeah,
you'll all remember that while I lived in Michigan, Doc Fearsome was a regular in my chats. But of course, since I moved back to Minnesota, I'm contractually obligated to, rip on Iowa. So,
What did Iowa do?
I have no idea. But if you live in Minnesota, you have to rip on Iowa. That's just the
What
way
did
it
Iowa
is.
do? It opened its fucking mouth.
I mean, I get like hating New Jersey if you live in the Mid-Atlantic. That's like traditional.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, Stu, if you think I was arrested, I will tell you now that there was no evidence in the Privileges Committee's reporting to me, Stu, so I've not been arrested. And I'm afraid Stu will be the only person who gets the joke.
And one of these days, I'll even figure out why New Jersey is the punching bag of the Mid-Atlantic.
Well, here in Florida, I'm pretty sure I'm legally obligated to hate everybody.
Oh! Did you see what Ron DeSatan said? I don't know. I think it was maybe yesterday about sports. Oh, you got to hear this. he was praising baseball. Baseball is such a wonderful game. Blah 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 blah. Sucking for votes. And then he went and said, the people who play basketball are nothing but freaks of nature. Oh man,
Hashtag
that's going to
Dickhead
score him
DeSantis.
lots of points.
Well, he's lost.
Technically, most basketball matches have more points than baseball, so yes, but
Well, he probably already lost the black vote, but he's lost most of Indiana's vote now with that.
Did you see that new French guy who just came over for the NBA draft?
I don't even like basketball. A lot of the locals do.
I'm not a giant fan either at all. I really don't even like to watch it. But this kid who came over is 7'5".
But we do have Indiana University and Purdue here, which are both Big Ten basketball schools, I believe.
Well, just looking it up, World Atlas, basketball has over 800 million fans, and baseball has over 500 million fans. So basketball is actually more popular than baseball.
And I actually was a substitute teacher for like part of the year at the school where Larry Bird student taught. And there's a huge statue of him outside of like the university sports stadium because that's where he played.
Yeah. Oh, NJ saying, hold on. Look, Brighton's not that far down the coast from me, actually, but so.
Oop.
I think that NJ should come in here.
We lost Jeff.
Yeah. Freak shows I'm not sure I'd call them freak shows, but even like the freak shows, you have to think it's like, yeah, they might have been exploited, but they didn't really have, I'm trying to say? I don't know. I'm going to drop that line of thinking because I wasn't sure where.
So I don't know what happened then, but
I don't know anything about Larry Bird
Okay.
except he played for ISU.
I would say I'm not far away from. I'm not that far down the coast from Brighton. Only about 60, 70 miles. So
If they have a Brighton, does it mean they have a dim then?
most,
Dimington?
I mean, Brighton's a city in like south coast of England. So it's like it's a bit of a tourist resort. It's also had a reputation for being like the kind of like gay capital of Britain. So you always lots of pride like flags when you go down there, which is kind of cool. So
I wonder if it's anything like that town in what is that? Rhode Island, I think. Provincetown. I think it's Provincetown.
Providence, is that it? Rhode Island?
No, Provincetown. No, not Providence.
Yeah.
Something on near or on the lakeshore or on ocean.
Yeah, it's on the south coast of England, so it's on the English Channel. Like, so it's about 60 or 70 miles from where I live.
Oh, you're talking about England. I'm talking about America.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, Jenny, I should just tell you something. There are other countries in the world other than
There
America.
are
I don't know if you know.
You
There are.
guys keep
believe it or
saying
not.
that just to confuse us.
Yeah.
Well,
No, the whole world's made up of America. Haven't you seen in those alien invasion movies?
well, I've seen Team America World Police where every country is expressed where it is in relation to America.
Exactly. Yeah.
Give an example. I haven't seen that.
North Korea, something like 6,000 miles away from America. Panama, Central America, 3 miles south of the real America.
Yeah.
I don't know. Team America World Police is.
That's such a funny film. I mean, what's it when they did Michael Moore as a suicide bomber?
Just remember
yeah.
Trey Parker and Matt Stone. That should tell you everything you need to know about the movie.
Yeah.
They also wanted to do like a Thunderbirds movie and weren't allowed to, so they just said, "Let's do a movie that's an homage to Thunderbirds with puppets."
It's like Thunderbirds on steroids.
Heat shield, isn't that amazing? I think Mexico should come and take Texas back.
Yep.
But there was someone from Mexico. I remember, was it when Trump was doing his campaigning in 2016 about how the building the wall and we're going to make Mexico pay for it. And there's someone, so I think it was some politician from Mexico, that said, "We'll gladly pay for the wall, providing it was on the pre-1848 borders."
Yep, I was promoting that.
I don't remember that part, but I do remember Do you remember the president of Mexico being very clear, saying, "We're not paying for that effing wall"?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the president of Mexico who said it, but
No, former president. Sorry, it wasn't.
no,
president.
I mean about building the wall on the 1840 border.
My
But yeah,
favorite-
that's it was good to make people realize that Mexico actually used to own like Texas, Arizona, and the southern third of California.
Yeah.
I would my favorite part about oh, never mind, I forgot now. Oh gosh.
Yeah, the wall was just a stupid idea. It didn't work when China tried it.
Oh yeah. I love how every design they come up with, these people can scale it or put up a ladder.
Or dig under it.
Or you can do what Israel does, which is build a wall and then still build settlements on the other side of the wall.
And you have most legal immigrants coming in over using a plane anyway.
Yeah.
Seeing as most of them are coming in with valid visas, and then the visas are expiring. That's ending
Yep.
up being
Yep. That's one of the little things that the Republicans hate to hear and deny it when they do.
Well, yeah, that's like the governor of Texas was trying to do these patrols to show all these thousands of people running across the border. And he kept going down there with news crews, and they never once found anyone.
I don't think China was all that successful in keeping the Mongols out with the wall.
Well, given that they conquered China, it's evident that the wall wasn't very successful.
The most impressive thing about the Chinese Great Wall is just that it exists. My God, to build something like that way back then.
The Chinese Great Wall failed when the Mongol hordes came, but it did keep China safe actually for a couple of centuries before that against smaller armies.
I mean, obviously we had our smaller version of the wall in northern England, but the Scots overran that a couple of times. Hadrian's wall, sure.
Well, it was just mostly just built to serve as a border of the Northern Empire.
Ox, I thought it was Turtle Island.
A lot of it as well is like it was a way of Hadrian to keep the army busy as well. He kind of felt lazy armies are conspiratorial armies in Rome. So if they're not conquering somewhere, we'll keep them busy somehow else.
Yeah, Ox, I actually thought that Turtle Island was more like the entire planet.
But which Native American tribe? There were like hundreds.
Yeah, there were about 500 separate nations on the U.S. before the Europeans got here.
Ox, how many were there? Ox is kind of an expert on that sort of thing.
Yep.
And the Susquehanna were wiped out by the Iroquois before, like, my family settled in Pennsylvania. At the behest of the English, I later learned, but I did learn it's like it was wiped out and that land was, unlike most land the Pennsylvanians purchased, it wasn't actually bought. Which doesn't mean Pennsylvania treated the Indians fairly when they purchased land. It's just the Pennsylvanians did buy their land. Oh, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just... Did my headset go out again?
We can still
No, we hear you fine.
I'm not saying that you're wrong necessarily about that. I'm just saying they're different tribes. Each tribe probably has its own culture, has different names for it.
Yeah. Well, of course, there were also, I don't know how many different languages there were.
I don't think there were quite as many because languages were often shared, like between like, confederations. But
I wouldn't be surprised if each tribe didn't have its own language.
Well, I think like each tribe probably had its own dialect, but for neighboring tribes, they basically did share the same languages usually.
Yeah, I think like the I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. Powhatan Confederation that
Powhatans, yeah,
had their own language. The Iroquois had theirs. But
NJ, go have your genes tested. Watch some of the NJ shows up with Native American.
Well, see, one of those famous member of the Powhatans obviously is buried in England. So,
I know I have some Native American in me. I'm not sure how much.
Yeah, I've never had any sort of that testing done, and I don't trust the companies to do it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't trust the companies, but I also did not have any ancestors on this continent until after 1900, so...
Besides,
not as much mixing going on in my case. I'm actually the first generation that did not marry within our own ethnic group.
Besides, I already know my ethnic group is Pennsylvania Dutch, and it's not going to matter if I have Native American blood in me or not. That's what it's going to be.
Let's throw this out as a subject. Genealogy. When it comes to genealogy, people tend to trace surname as their connection to ancestors, but genetically, it's the RNA that gets passed down in a maternal situation.
Oh, mitochondrial DNA, not RNA.
Well, by Jewish tradition, it does follow the matriarch line.
But
basically, whether or not you're Jewish is whether or not your mother was Jewish. Who your father was irrelevant for that.
I remember the farther back you trace your genealogy, the less likely you are to actually be descended from those people.
I mean, I obviously tried like the whole tracing my ancestry back through records and so on. And I found a big problem on both sides of my family that, and it's going back to the 1800s when you run into workhouses, and then records become very difficult once you hit that. If you've had ancestors that were in workhouses in Britain, it's very difficult to. Sometimes it's very difficult to. Look, I've got links that went further back than that, but I can't swear to them being accurate. Let's put it that way. I think the most accurate. I think the last guy I could come back to, with any degree of accuracy was in about 1845 or something. After that, it gets very sketchy. But I've found too many people on, say, like Ancestry in Britain or whoever. It's amazing how many people are bloody descended from Alfred the Great. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Alex, while it would not necessarily surprise me, if it did, it also really wouldn't matter, but I would also say if you're going to do genealogy, it is interesting because it gives you the story of like your specific family and where they came from. But
no,
keep in mind
I'm just going to correct that comment there. No, Scummer has no Navajo in him. Scummer works outside and has caught the sun and is also drinking, which might make my complexion go a little more red.
But keep in mind, if you're using the Mormon resources or more resources that report back to the Mormons, you may be baptizing dead Holocaust victims against their wish.
Yeah.
Somebody
oh Christ,
rather nefarious just bought 23andMe.
They did that to Anne Frank, didn't they?
Multiple times.
Yeah.
I think they may have changed their policies to prevent that sort of thing, but the reason the Mormons maintain the genealogical database is because of their practice of baptism for the dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find that extremely disrespectful.
Well, it's fucking disgusting practice.
Yeah, well, I really can't trace my family back beyond the ones who came to the U.S. because in both cases they were leaving because the Russians were coming in and everything left behind got destroyed.
But Ox, if it makes you feel better, I do have powwows in my family, but that's referring to a Pennsylvania Dutch esoteric tradition. And no one's really...
Go ahead.
No one's really sure how the name powwow came about, so...
Well, apparently, I still have a family in Czechoslovakia. A family member of mine visited the village my grandmother came from, and was just kind of looking over the gravestones and found ones that didn't have years on them. So the people were still alive. So I went into the village and actually found them.
Oh.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
A picture of the person, the little old lady. I mean, if you think stereotype old world little old lady, that's what she looked like.
Well, I can't trace mine back further than my great grandparents, and they actually were still alive when I was a child.
Yeah. On the one side, I know I have ancestors in the Martyr's Mere. My mother's side, going back from my grandmother, actually will go all the way back to Adam and Eve because someone hooked it into British nobility way back, which generally, if it goes back that far, that's what happened. Because
Yeah.
it's totally fiction at that point. And regarding my maternal grandfather, we know who his father is, and that's about it, because the theory is a lot of them went kind of crazy during the Great Depression. For some reason, probably got involved in crime, and it was just ashamed for that they didn't talk about after that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because it just ends at that point. Well, Ox, the fancy Dutch, which my ancestors were not, may not always be peaceful. The Amish and the Mennonites are pacifist, however.
I have to say that the Quakers are one religious group I have a bit of respect for, because in my limited dealings with them, they actually did seem interested in helping the whole community, not just the members of their own church.
No, so I don't necessarily, think every religious group or religious people are bad. I mean, it's like I said, I mean, I don't have an issue with the Quakers. The liberty theologians from the sort of 50s and 60s and so on. I don't have an issue.
Well, after
There's a lot of good stuff, but
after the hurricanes in Florida, the JWs made it a real big PR campaign about how they were going down there and fixing up houses. And they never mentioned the fact that they were only doing that for members of their own church.
Andrea, I just want to point out something. The Pennsylvania Dutch aren't Dutch. They're German and Swiss.
Yeah, it was actually the Pennsylvania Deutsch and just our mispronunciation of it.
Kannst du Deutsche Schwätze? Yeah, I'm descended from Swiss Mennonites.
I'm related to Jesus. He was my uncle. Good old Uncle Jesus.
I want to test something out here. I want to see if I'm pretty sure if I type in StreamYards, I'm actually going to be posting under your Purple. But let's find out. Yep, it is under you.
What, you mean in the private chat, or where are you posting?
In the regular chat, I can actually post as you.
Oh, interesting.
Okay,
I guess that's because I was supposed to pick a team name there. I didn't quite fully understand what they were asking me to set up.
All right. I do agree. Pennsylvania Dutch food is awesome.
Well, what's traditional for the Pennsylvania Dutch food?
Well, some of it is the same thing other American foods, just with different names. Like what I call chicken pot pie, you would call chicken and dumplings. But there are things like shoofly pie, which is made out of molasses. Fosnocks, which are potato donuts, like a Mardi Gras thing. Lebanon bologna. Ham and green beans is a Pennsylvania Dutch thing. Potato bread isn't specifically Pennsylvania Dutch bread, but it does go with a lot of meals. Scrapple is probably the most infamous of their foods. Generally, a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch food is very starchy.
Well, yeah, it's very potato-based, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was cheap peasant food. If you didn't have a lot of money, potatoes would fill you up.
It's getting back to that.
Very much getting back to that.
Yeah, except the price of potatoes has doubled in the last 3 years.
Yeah. Well, it's just getting more and more into like processed foods or whatever now. So, because I was listening to like radio conversation earlier today on like I think it was LBC or something about like processed foods and just certainly I don't know how I don't know what where it is, what the case is there, but it obviously cost of living crisis we got here.
Yeah, well, that's part of why it's not hitting me as bad. I don't eat nearly as much of the processed foods as most Americans would. So
I've noticed some prices have started to go down again now, like eggs.
Eggs are down to 99 cents.
Yeah, eggs got back to normal a while ago.
Not all of them. I really wish olives would go back down.
Well, I just think with like the cost of living issue we got, I don't know how bad it. I know it's affected you guys as well, but I don't know how. To what extent, whether it's the same extent, a lot of people who might have been buying fresh food are going to cheaper processed options or so on here because the cost of living here right now is fucking awful.
Well, I'm protected from the biggest hit most people are taking because I get a government rent subsidy that is based on being a percentage of my income. So even if the cost of rent for the whole city is going up, they can't raise mine.
Yeah. It's not. I listened to a lot of conversation earlier today. I don't know if Stool's still in the chat or not, but I know Stool listens to James O'Brien pretty much every morning, same as I do. So there's definitely a conversation, about this earlier today, and where a lot of people's mortgages this is just like the people who've got mortgages, homeowners, and that mortgages have gone through the fucking roof at the moment.
Mark, that would be 99 cents.
Right. Ox, before I go, I have a question since you said you love Scrapple. How do you feel about Panhas? Also, Pennsylvania has some really great potato chips that I wish I could get more easily here. Like Middlesworth, Nibble with Gibbles. I did find some Cookstown soda recently, though. All right, you don't need to answer that. Panhas is the same thing as Scrapple, though. It's just different words for the same thing.
Okay, I don't think I understand this. I don't often drink beer, but when I do, I fight the price of potatoes in the harbor.
The least into
what? How do the potatoes and the beer? I'm not seeing the link there.
The only alcohol I know that's made from potatoes is vodka.
Yeah.
Or moonshine.
Oh, you can make moonshine out of anything.
Yeah, I have potatoes is quite commonly though. Yeah.
Traditionally, in the U.S., it's corn, however.
Yeah. I will have to say the strongest stuff I've ever drunk is some neat American moonshine.
So what were you saying, Purple?
Well, Orla was saying that the energy bills are supposed to be going down. I know that, the people in the UK got hit real hard for the gas and the electric lately.
Yeah.
I'll be happy about that.
Yeah, okay, I know it's not unique to the UK. A lot of people have been, but of course, unfortunately, we did do this thing back in 2016 where we voted to leave the European Union, and that's kind of just exacerbated things a little bit for us on a number of fronts. So the Brexit chickens have come home to roost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that must be a program in your state. I'm not aware of there, being that kind of produce incentive here.
I'm sure this is the wrong way to put that, but if we do something stupid like elect Donald Trump, you don't have to follow us in the UK.
Yeah, well, God, we've had. What's interesting, I've always felt like Trump and Johnson have been trying to play a constant game of hold my beer.
Hello, Granny.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Hi, Granny.
Hi, Jenny. How are you?
I am just Ducky Poo.
Cool. Purple, are you getting any better?
I'm getting better. I still have a way to go, but I'm at least back to kind of my normal sleep, which is never great to start with, but at least I'm, recovering somewhat.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. The early half of the week was an absolute nightmare for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounded like it. Sorry to interrupt the conversation.
I was going to say, at least this week we can. It's like people in Parliament can actually get up and say officially that Boris Johnson is a liar now because he got found out this week. So
what they found
officially, well, I'll just explain this. I tried to do a too long didn't read version, not to try not to bore people. With this thing in the UK Parliament called the Privileges Committee, who are kind of like the watchdog of Parliament. They're a group of MPs who are there to be a watchdog essentially, and investigate claims of people what they call misleading the House, which is the parliamentary way of saying you're a lying fuck. And they came back and reported that Boris Johnson had done this deliberately on numerous occasions. A lot of it was around the whole what's been called Partygate. The whole you probably all heard the story about how
about him having private parties during COVID.
Yeah, which he tried to deny any knowledge of. And it was like, and this committee came back and says, well, we've done an investigation. No, you knew, and you knew, and you deliberately stood up in the House and lied about it.
Hadn't somebody leaked photographs of him at one of the parties?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That's kind of hard to keep denying it at that point when they show the photographs of you being there.
It's really weird. You've got this small group of Conservative MPs that are still trying to support him. It's kind of hilarious at this point, but it's kind of disgusting to me how many of the Conservatives didn't even bother to show up in the House to vote. The vote on now this trying to think how many seats. There's 650 seats in the House of Commons in the UK. The vote to accept this report. It was 354 to 7 in favour. And it was only 100. It was the majority of people who voted in favour of this were like Labour and other opposition MPs, like Scottish Nationals or whoever. And Conservatives, there was a minority of them who showed up, but most of them didn't even have the guts. It's almost like they're too, even though Boris Johnson is no longer a member of Parliament. He actually resigned as a member of Parliament rather than face the music on this, and then had the nerve to call the Privileges Committee a kangaroo court. this is a kangaroo court, which is not, because this is an established procedure that's been here in the UK for many, many years. And the 7 people on this committee, 4 of them, the majority of them, are Conservatives, and they all voted. They were all like, "Yeah, he lied through his teeth to us." And he's had the nerve to go out and call this a kangaroo court.
I need to actually go print out some things because I actually realized in the
goodbye.
decision.
I'm sorry, I'm boring the fuck out of you with British.
Oh, no,
politics.
it's not your fault. It's just there was something I realized about something that happened to me that they're wrong about, and I just need to fulfill that decision.
Okay, just don't disturb Athena. She just got comfortable back there.
I need to go find a printer and print some things out. Also, the conversation in the site chat is making me very hungry for some Lippen and Bologna. Which, if
Good
you've
to
had
see
it,
you.
you know what it is. You know it's good. If you haven't had it, try to find seltzers. Don't get Boris head. All right. Be excellent to each other, and so long, and thanks for all the fish.
I
I've
had
just seen
kangaroo tacos recently.
I've just seen Mark Caesar's comment there, and he'll appreciate this as well. That one of the big Conservative supporters of Boris Johnson, who thought, it was who has been calling this a kangaroo court, rather than turn up for the debate in the House of Commons over this, decided he'd go to the cricket match and make a symbolic gesture of wearing a tie with pictures of kangaroos on it, saying this was a kangaroo court, forgetting that England are playing Australia in the cricket at the moment. So it actually made him look like he was supporting the Australians.
So he is as dumb as Trump.
I think Johnson and Trump must call each other in the evening and discuss strategy.
It's almost. I mean that they're of a similar. I've always resisted in the past to try and draw comparisons between them, but the narcissistic tendencies of both of them are evident.
Mm-hmm.
I had always assumed that Johnson was just watching Trump and taking notes.
Yep, I did too.
Because Johnson seemed slightly more intelligent and seemed to be more putting on the act for the press.
I've called him the European shit
but he's done even before Trump became a major political figure. Boris Johnson was doing this act he was doing his lovable buffoon act way before Donald Trump even became a thing
Boris,
politically.
It was an act, and for Donald, it's standard behavior.
Yeah. Boris Johnson's a nasty piece of work. You look into the story of the journalist that he was complicit in having beaten up. If you want to look into that story, but I find it really amazing that that there's still people in this country who think he's brilliant, and this guy who was educated at Eton, then went to Oxford University, became a journalist for the Daily Telegraph, became the editor of Spectator magazine, then became a Conservative MP and Mayor of London, and then Prime Minister with the Conservative Party, and yet somehow he's convinced people that he is somehow anti-establishment, when that is the most established British establishment career you could possibly have.
Well, I feel the same way about Trump. I don't get how he can do the things that he does, gets caught in the things that he does, and yet he still has a base that loves him, and he can do no wrong.
Trump got elected, because the Trump voters I talked to mostly said that he would run the country like a business. And I think that's pretty much what we got. He ran the country just like he ran his own businesses.
Into the ground.
Into the ground.
Yeah, into the ground, strictly trying to, for the benefit of his own family and not give a shit about anyone else.
I have a couple family members that are absolute pro-Trumpers.
Yeah.
And I haven't asked them anything since all of this stuff has come out. I'm afraid to. Because I'm afraid if I won't have anything to say if they say, yeah, we still like him. We don't care about that.
Well, if you want somebody to run the country like a business, can we at least get somebody who's going to run a business well?
Yeah, well, that's...
Granny, do you have any psychologists or psychiatrists as friends in your life?
Robin.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well,
Robin just graduated with a psych degree.
Okay, well, why don't you get a bunch of business cards, and if when the relatives say that they still back Trump, you just hand them one of those and leave.
Robin's not a practicing therapist, but Robin does have a psych degree.
Well, that's when I was living in Michigan. So through 2019, I was working for my cousin, who was a big Trump supporter, and unfortunately had to spend a lot of time riding in the truck with him, talking to him way more than I really wanted to. But that's what I was asking him was just that, as a small business owner, how could he support Trump? And the answers were completely incoherent, how he thought Trump was helping small businesses.
I love these guys who today will, go around defending Trump and they'll say, oh, well, I got a tax cut from Trump. No, you fucking didn't. Didn't you read that tax law that is you're going to get a couple $100 back 1 year, and then for the next 5 or 10 years it's going to go up?
Yeah, most of it was crap about that by keeping the immigrants out, he didn't have to be competing with these immigrants running unlicensed businesses or something like that.
Well, small businesses. Okay, look at who Trump actually first put in charge for small businesses when he got in. Linda McMahon, the wife of Vince McMahon of WWE fame, who put out a lot of wrestling promoters that were mom and pop organizations. They put them all out of fucking business. So yeah. So I heard someone who did a wrestling podcast, and when Linda McMahon got made small businesses, well, there could have been some small businesses in like America that could have benefited in the 80s from her, like the AWA and this promotion in like Oregon or whatever. It was like because they were all mom and pop organizations, and they put them all out of fucking business.
Well, every government, I don't care whose administration it was, has completely failed our economy, is to deal with and support heavily, not small business, but micro business.
Yeah, family-owned businesses.
Yep. I have 2, 3, 4, maybe 10 employees. And, and trying to keep everybody with income and alive that can support themselves.
Yep.
And nobody helps them from anywhere. The micro business gets no help.
Well, definitely the government policy in the last 50 years has just been favoring all the big corporations that just go around and, either suck up the small businesses or they just, build mega stores where the smaller businesses can't compete.
Well, RFK Jr. will save all of us. No reaction?
I'm trying to think of which...
not even the birds on that one.
I was just trying to think of which conspiracy I should bring up for him to save us with.
Just trying to which is Kennedy Jr.'s favorite conspiracy against it, anti-vax stuff or what?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember. Yeah.
Well, now he's explaining how there's a chemical in the water that is turning everybody trans.
Okay.
Okay, is this a variant on the one that was turning the frogs gay?
No, I don't recall Alex Jones ever saying specifically what was causing the frogs turn the frogs gay.
Well, actually, if you get down to it, the chemical is turning the frogs trans. Well, the thing is the frogs actually naturally will switch sexes from time to time with these specific frogs, and apparently there was some chemical that was possibly triggering this.
I'm almost tempted to like do an experiment, like where I take one of these, whatever substance it is they're saying, for a month to see if it turns me trans or not, and I'll do a daily vlog to see.
I think
because I've got this feeling it's not going to happen.
I think they said atrazine, which is a
I mean,
herbicide, pesticide, something like that.
Okay, yeah, maybe, yes, okay, maybe not take a dose of that on a daily basis then, but I just speak to a medical professional and just say, how much do I need to take to turn me trans?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it, Scooter. No, you really don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think humans can switch sexes that way.
Well, I mean, there's a meme going around like years ago about, like, from some right-wing group about I smoked pot for years and it turned me gay, which is obviously rubbish. And I was just like, hold on, have I not been getting good shit? You know?
Well, maybe it did turn him gay. He smoked enough pot that his inhibitions went down.
Well, I'm not being funny. I smoked pot for a long, long time, and I wasn't getting good shit because it hasn't happened to me.
Yeah, NJ, being trans is rarely easy. You know, some people do have the full support of their families, and that makes it a lot easier. But even if your family's supporting you, getting all the doctors to listen can still be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, whether you're an ally or whether you're trans, the only message we should be putting out right now is that transgender people, transgender science, transgender medicine has not been problematic since 1920.
Yep.
Until Trump came in.
Did you see what Aaron in the Morning posted this morning about what the Arkansas court did?
Yes.
That was phenomenal.
Wait, what happened with the Arkansas court?
What happened there?
The Arkansas court threw out the anti-transgender healthcare bill and cited like 400 facts as to why gender-affirming care is medically necessary care.
Oh,
fair play to them.
Yeah, it's that decision is probably going to be the basis for decisions all across the country that are going to throw out these anti-transgender care bills.
Well, I still stand with what I said. That's the message we should be putting across, and adding to that, that all of the information that has been piled on the situation by the Trumpians is based on lies, is based on manipulations, is based on untruths with experts that have nothing to do with trans ever in their professional careers.
Oh, I got some nitwit about a month ago, actually, who used to picture at me because of something they disagreed with me and said, is this person trans? I'm like, no, I'm a dude with long hair, but yeah, that's the point. No, all I replied to on Twitter was this: I thought you guys could always tell.
Well, and that's the funny part. Well, not funny because people are getting harassed for it. But where they passed these, transgender bathroom bills, they are finding virtually no trans people. They just keep winding up harassing cis women that they think don't look feminine enough.
But I mean, I think it's a reality. I mean, it's a reality check for me, though, in a way, seeing something like that. And I'm a cis het white male, yes, that sometimes needs to check his own privilege, but it's like the first time it's one of those things that really drives it home to you, though, that they can just look at me as a dude with long hair, like, oh, he's obviously trans. It's like, no. You know, this is the level of shit. And it's one of the things that drives it home to me. This is the level of shit you guys have got to deal with on a fucking daily basis.
Yeah, again, I know that I've got it, fairly easy just for the location I live in and such, being much more tolerant of it.
We all should need to be vigilant at this point in American history, whether you're trans or not. I don't care if you've never even, if you're not gay, I don't care. None of it matters.
And British history as well.
Let me finish, please. Please. What is going on, and people need to be told this in so many words, is that the people who are pushing the trans stuff and everything, that's not their goal. We are not their goal. Their goal is to take all the freedoms that we have gained since the 50s and 60s that we fought so hard for. Mm-hmm. They want to take them all away and literally put us back in that age where things like having sex with anybody is against the law. Cohabitation is against the law. If somebody wears, a dress or something, that's against the law. A woman wears pants, that's against the law.
Well, yeah.
These people. No, please let me finish. They want us to be in the religious belt fantasy of what humans should be. That this is what America was great is to them, and it's not to the rest of the citizenship. And we have got to make that clear that they're not coming after me; they're coming after you. And we're just the first step.
Mm-hmm. I've been trying to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are trying to run back everybody's rights. They don't want anybody doing anything their church doesn't approve of.
That's basically my line of argument when I see the LGBT Alliance crowd on Twitter.
There have been preachers that are talking about not allowing dancing. Okay? They want to take everything back to the 50s and 40s and shit.
Well, one Daily Wire guy, he was saying he wants to take things back to 1220.
1220?
Yeah.
So we're going to get rid of running water and electricity and lumber?
I guess he means social.
Well, if he should just go whole hog and go back a further 5 years so we can get rid of Magna Carta as well.
I've been seeing a lot more reports lately of trans men who have been having to use the bathroom that they were birth certificate with, and causing all kinds of trouble.
I've heard about that.
That it's really freaking people out, women out in the loo.
Yeah, I've heard a few cases about that.
And I think it's just wonderful.
Then again, I don't know. There's some problems with that since they're getting shit for it.
This past weekend, my husband and I went for a getaway weekend at Callaway Gardens in Pine Mountain, Georgia. And to get there, we had to drive through a very rural area near the border of Alabama and Georgia. And everywhere we looked, there were Trump flags. I mean, the Trump flags too, but what I meant to say was Confederate flags. I just couldn't believe the Confederate flags I saw all over. And this one store that had a whole bunch of them out front, and they had this big sign that says Trump merchandise available here. And it's like, gosh, get us out of here.
It's incredible. I feel so bad for the normal people who live down there.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get them out, and let them have their South. Fucking keep it. We don't need it. We don't want it.
Well, that's quite a statement, though, to say that drive from the state you live in, Granny, which is not known for being the most progressive state historically.
Pardon me?
Go into Georgia.
Oh, Granny. I'm sorry.
And then, and to go into Georgia and see that, it's like...
No, that was actually in Alabama. It was right before we got to the Georgia border. Yeah.
I was going to say, because obviously Alabama, historically, it does not have a reputation for being the most progressive state, to be honest.
The only thing Alabama has for it is better than Mississippi.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just on the edge of the curb before the gutter.
We're 49. We're not 50.
Yeah. Your bumper sticker say, Alabama. At least we're not Mississippi.
Right.
So you're saying if Roy Moore had run in Mississippi, he would have got elected?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Which it bothered me when I get an echo from somewhere, but I was like, when I saw that result, I mean, obviously glad the Democrat won, but the fact that it was that close, given everything that had come out about Roy Moore, I'm like, why did so many people vote for this guy?
It's because Democrat is a dirty word here.
Hey, Mark, realize that this movement is coming your way too. That this is an achievement of world domination that they're seeking, not just America.
I don't think they're going to win, though. I think they're going to lose big time.
I mean,
not if we don't get the word out.
True.
I mean, the thing is, like, the particular constituency I live in, right, like within Britain, okay. We've generally always had conservative members of parliament where I live. But like, okay, even though we would never probably, I don't think there's much chance we'd ever get a Labour MP elected here. We have managed to get liberal Democrats elected here. If there's a big scandal involving a member of parliament that representing us here or something that's a conservative, at very least the Liberal Democrat would beat them.
Carol Kinzer, Texas is spelled with 2 S's.
Heat Shield is going to invent the screwdriver.
Another one?
Well, if we're going back to 1220, then that's what he's like.
But Heat Shield's going to invent the Phillips screwdriver. I'm going to invent the Robertson screwdriver.
Ah, okay.
I'm going to invent the Doctor Who sonic screwdriver.
I'm going to invent radio.
I'm going to invent the drink.
You got us all beat, Jenny.
Yeah, it's just amazing what's going on, folks. I just can't believe it. It's just so weird.
I really think it's lashing out of cornered animals. They are losing power, and they're scared to death because they're losing what they used to have.
Unfortunately, let's say using the cornered animal thing, the analogy is, of course, it's when they're at their most dangerous as well. So
right.
Why we have to be vigilant, and that's not just in America; that's here as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, these and the sad thing is, like, here as well, is you've got these absolute fucking client media as well that put this shit out on a daily basis as well. It's when they're at their most dangerous.
Well, next year's election, what is going to decide it is whether or not the younger people are really upset enough to go out and vote in significant numbers.
Mm-hmm.
If we get a high voter turnout of the young people, the Republicans can lose a lot of power. But what happens too often for the Democrats is that people on the left feel their vote doesn't count, so they don't bother to vote.
I mean, look, we've virtually got a two-party system here. It's not quite the same, but near enough. People, your two-party system is really bad.
It is.
Really is. That you know, that I mean, because if I lived in America, yeah, I would say in every damn election I'd be voting Democrat through gritted teeth.
I'm pretty sure Gen Z won't be voting the way you guys would want them to vote.
Why is that?
Well, let's put it this way. A majority of Gen Z is actually interested in backing Marianne Williamson, not Biden. So if they have Biden, they're not going to be really interested and motivated to vote.
Yeah, I think they will.
I think America, I'm going to say this. America missed a massive opportunity, I think, in 2016, or the Democrats in particular, when they fucked Bernie.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Well, the problem was that Bernie was not a Democrat. Bernie was an independent. And the Democratic Party was concerned that on some critical piece of legislature, Bernie was going to do the right thing instead of towing the party line.
But people were, this is the thing. People were coming out for Bernie, though.
Yeah.
This is what scared. I mean, like even where Granny lives, Alabama, I saw this rally. Bernie drew like 10,000 people to a rally in Alabama.
Yeah, it just proved that the DNC was more concerned with preserving the status quo than they were with winning an election.
Well, I mean, it happened to a certain degree here with they just the combination of our media and just shameful Labour MPs when they just fucked Jeremy Corbyn, you know.
And I saw people will go from supporting Bernie to supporting Trump in the next election because of the crap they pulled.
See, and you cannot ever guess or get those voters on your side, because if they're so stupid about politics and policy that they would go from Bernie to Trump, they are demonstrating they know absolutely nothing about the world politic.
That doesn't really matter. The fact that they would go and do something like that matters.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying is that you cannot depend on getting those people. You're not going to be able to score them and know comfortably that they're going to be with you. They're just not trustworthy voters.
They're not trustworthy voters, but they're it may be just a symptom of like people who feel disenfranchised and whatever by the mainstream. So they go with this guy. They think they go with this other guy who presents himself as being somewhat outside of the mainstream, political elite.
Yes.
These are the same people who voted for Nader, for Anderson, for Perot, for every damn third party candidate, and destroyed our elections because of it. The third party is not a viable thing based on how our government is designed, and they need to understand that.
That's the problem. I mean, again, that is a big problem with American politics.
Yes, and the only way you're going to change that is to get. The only way you're going to change that is to get the power and then to be able to change it. You can't get in the door by running up to it and barging through. You have to knock, and that means getting school board seats.
But I think
alderman seats.
I mean, it's a difficult thing because I think it's I don't know. I just think it might even be a more difficult task to actually try and take the Democratic Party over and turn it to the left rather than And I just think there's been a lot of missed opportunities in American history. I think. If I look about 100 years ago, America lost a massive opportunity with Eugene Debs. I think socialists were a big force.
I absolutely disagree. It's not the third-party voters. It's the people disenfranchising these people to vote third party. It's the way our system is working that's failing.
Or worse, they don't even turn out to vote one way or the other.
Yeah, or worse.
That's even worse.
I
Well, that's
agree with
my
you, mate.
problem.
Yeah, they're voted for a third party in a system that is designed for two, and there's just no hope of them getting
Yep.
it.
Because
Well,
I think that's the worst. The worst thing is I mean, like I said, the worst thing is not people voting for third party. The worst thing is people who feel disenfranchised that I'm not even going to bother to vote because no one. That's
and that's the big problem that the U.S. runs
That's the
into.
problem you've got. That is the big problem.
The fanatical religious people will always show up to vote for the for the candidate on the far right.
And that's just it. They're being given.
The people on the left feel that their vote.
The one advantage we have this time is the major issue was abortion. And the big thing that the right was voting for was whoever was the pro-abortion, ban candidate. And now that they got their abortion ban, at least they got the Supreme Court to reverse Roe. I think people who aren't the most committed of the right are going to say, well, we got it. We're done.
Well, it's just that the people on the right going out and voting, they're being given things to vote for.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really seeing that on the other side. We're being given, we have to vote against this. It's not a winning strategy.
Yeah, the Democrats need to get a better message on, what they're for. And traditionally, what the Democrats used to win on was a platform of worker rights, and economic policies that help the working class.
Mm-hmm.
And the Democrats need to get back to that. And especially now, with corporations using union busting tactics, the Democrats should go back to, supporting the unions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't see us having very many decent Democratic candidates.
Well, they keep talking that Newsom out of California is going to run. He's just setting himself up for it right now. He's been in lots of national interviews and stuff lately. That he's going to be the substitute for Joe.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe.
But no Democrat will run against Joe. Not in 24.
Well, you can't have somebody running against an incumbent president on your own party.
There's already 4 people who have declared that they're running against Joe in the primary.
But they're not serious candidates.
They're still running.
I know.
Yeah, the only way we're going to have somebody other than Joe on the ballot is if he decides to announce he's retiring.
Or if he has a major health issue.
Yeah.
I hate that the mainstream media is treating that there isn't anyone running against him.
Yeah, there are some people who certainly deserve to get some time in front of the camera.
And that's another problem.
The thing that we're fighting, though, as far as Biden in particular, and our generation had the same problem. Granny, I think you might agree with me on this, that back when we were young, we looked at the old people that were in office, they're 65, they're 70 years old, they should get the hell out, they're too old. Well, now that you and I are 70, and we realize how perfectly viable our brains are now, that we're just as bright and quick and understanding as we ever were, you kind of look back at what you used to say and you say, boy, that was really foolish. But now it's the same thing that the young people are saying.
Well, also, there should be some recognition that our healthcare has improved, that a person who is 75 is more likely to be, that our healthcare has improved. So a person who is 75 is a lot more likely to be fully functional than a person that was at that same age 20 years ago.
Get closer to your mic, please.
Unfortunately, that is starting to reverse in this country because of our lack of national health care. For the first time in history, the life expectancy in this country is going down.
I'm going to say this is the one reason I would never move to the United States is healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Is the one reason I would never move because I've got a pre-existing medical condition. I probably ain't going to get insured, or it's going to cost me a bomb to get insured.
Jeff, we really wouldn't want you anyway. I'm sorry.
Well, you know, I'll make a note of that for when Trump, if Trump gets back in and you want asylum over here, Jenny, I'll make a note of that.
Okay.
And Jenny Morgan wants asylum in the UK now. Fuck her.
Actually, no, I don't think I would. It's the same thing as America, only smaller.
You don't like you don't like fish and chips. That's the problem.
I love fish and chips.
Jenny, you don't want to go and live on Turf Island?
Nope, I guess not. Not without a gun, anyways. There's a lot of turfs I need to talk to.
Yeah, but on the plus side here, the turfs here don't have guns.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of in the same category that it's like, you know, Canada's not going to take me because I already have a disability and no further income. So that's the only way I'm getting out of here is if I can actually get Canada to annex Minnesota.
No, you when it gets hot and heavy, you crash the border and get over and beg for refugee status. They're not going to send you back.
Well, see, I was considering that, and I was wondering what happens if I row a canoe across Lake Superior and they intercept me on the other shore.
You would never survive it. Unless you're going to just, take off from Minnesota and, make a little loop around to the other side of the border.
Yeah, well, it's a much shorter trip from Minnesota than it was from Upper Michigan. Upper Michigan, I would have had to cut right across the middle of the lake.
What do you mean? You got the Mackinac Straits. It's a bridge. Canada is getting serious about opening up refugee status for people from America because of the right-wing bent that we're on right now. They recognize that it's a dangerous thing.
Canada's got some good records on a lot of things. I was listening to radio earlier today, and there's a political prisoner in Russia right now. He's half Russian, half English. He's technically got a British passport. He's just been locked up by Putin for 25 years or something. And Canada is trying to do more to get this guy released than the UK government, which is disgusting to me because this guy's technically a citizen of the United Kingdom. It's not a citizen of Canada, but Canada is willing to grant this guy asylum and actually is trying to do something, but the British government is not. And his big crime is he's been locked up there for basically talking out against Putin.
I heard that Ted Cruz gave up his Canadian citizenship. I think he's going to run for president.
Is that because he's been cleared of being the Zodiac killer now?
It might be. It might be. But either that or he wants the new part. He's going to join the Actors Guild and get the new part for Grandpa on Addams Family.
Yeah, I heard that Germany had been taking people from U.S. as political refugees, especially trans people. And I heard that they've changed that policy now since there are several U.S. states that have declared themselves sanctuaries. That Germany feels that's no longer needed for them to take the people. See, Canada's handy because I already speak the language.
You just got to add the occasional A, and you'll be all right. You know.
Well, I lived out of state for 10 years, so I lost it. But when I first moved to New York, I had the Minnesota accent so thick, everyone there thought I was Canadian.
As far as language goes, though, remember there's Canadian and there's Canadian frog.
I guarantee you, most British people would not know the difference between American and Canadian. And I know Americans and Canadians, and sometimes I wouldn't. I wouldn't know. Depends what part of Canada you're from. If you're on the should we say east of Canada, and you when you say a boot as opposed to about, then I know you're Canadian. But
for some reason, people there were saying I was from Alberta, which I don't even actually know what the Alberta accent is supposed to sound like.
I think it's got a Western twang to it.
Yeah, I've got a friend who lives over here now who's a Canadian guy. He's like, well, I'd say the boot thing is just, he's like, no, damn it, I'm from Vancouver. That's fucking Nova Scotia. And I'm like, okay. I said, hands up. I've watched too many of Shannon Q's videos.
If I actually have to get out of
Shannon,
here,
but Shannon does do the boot thing quite a bit.
If I have to actually get out of here and go to Canada, I think I'd like to live in Nova Scotia.
Yep, that's the place to go. Not quite so cold as the rest of the country.
Well, if I did wind up...
Which is ironic, considering it's technically Nova Scotia means New Scotland.
Yeah. If I did wind up getting up to Canada, just around Vancouver is where I know the most people, so...
I don't know enough about Newfoundland to say I'd want to move there.
Well, I'm Finnish on my mother's side, so I've got the heritage for it. Jeff, are you having an unstable connection there? You keep popping out.
Yeah, I am outside. I don't know, my Wi-Fi connection's that good here, to be honest. So if it keeps conking out, I'm going to go back inside. So,
Hoppy, I actually think I would like to live in Netherlands or Denmark or something like that.
Netherlands is awesome.
I've always been drawn to those countries.
Carol, I didn't realize you were up in BC as well. So, one more person in that region. Yeah, Vancouver itself is expensive, but I hear that, there's some smaller towns not too far out that are more reasonable. And like I say, at this point, I'm already retired, so I wouldn't be doing anything more than a part-time business.
Heat Shield, I hear that Vancouver is just ungodly expensive. Is that true?
Yeah, well, that's what Anjur was just saying. Sorry, people. This is... my mouse is flaking out, so a lot of times it's double-clicking when I'm just trying to do a single click. I have ordered replacement parts to repair it next week, but it's going to be end of next week before they get here.
I have to look into it, but on the surface, I'm still willing to bet it's cheaper than the UK.
I have a huge thunderstorm rolling in, and my internet is popping in and out a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and take off. But thanks for having me.
Okay, well,
see you, Granny.
Anytime you're available.
Granny,
Okay.
you be careful in that nasty weather.
Nice having you.
I'm just going to stay inside. No problems.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye, honey.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately having to run my air conditioner today, and it's like, it's not even like that hot or that humid for me, but we've got such air quality issues that I need to filter the air before it gets in here, otherwise it's, just doing such nasty things to my sinuses, I can't breathe. So I'm pretty much stuck inside until that clears up.
Yeah, the Canadian smoke coming down yet?
I'm sure that's what most of it is.
Yeah, we're still getting instructions for bad quality air.
Yeah, it's not real visible here. It's not like hazy, but if you look at the weather reports, they've got all the warnings about air quality.
I was just checking my weather report and see Texas heat wave has smashed some all-time records with no relief in sight.
And it'll get even more hotter next year.
That's usually how it goes with climate change.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I definitely noticing that the summer is starting earlier. That we've got longer and hotter summers than we used to.
Yeah, we're having 90 degrees all this week in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's
June.
Not supposed to happen till at least the middle of July.
We're having. I wouldn't say we haven't got to like real height of summer conditions yet, but last 2 weeks have been a bit much.
Yeah, well,
but
it's just this kind of heat we would get it in July, but now we're getting it a month earlier than we got it a few decades ago.
Yeah, we've got because obviously we mainly go on centigrade or Celsius here, so it's like it's got up to like 25, 26, maybe 27 a few times. So which isn't the hottest it can get, but it's. I've got to be honest. Anything over 25, it's too much for me.
Yeah, NJ, Jenny's about 2.5 hours southeast of me.
Yeah, we're in the good part of the state. NJ, if you look at a map, I am in the very lowest southeast corner of the state, where the last county there is in that way.
Yep. Yeah, Jenny keeps wandering over into Wisconsin when she's not paying attention.
Well, not anymore. My car's dead, so I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, Granny left already, unfortunately. Oh. So everybody's getting quiet, so is it just time to wrap this up now?
Probably close.
Well, let's do the go around. Anybody have anything, any last words, anything they want to plug?
Yes. Go ahead, Jeff.
Go on, Jenny. Oh no, go on, Jenny. If you want to plug something first.
I'm going to be on Christy Santiago's show, the League of League of Extraordinary Atheist Humanists.
Yep.
And so that's the YouTube channel you'll have to look for.
Okay, that's Friday night.
We're taping Friday night, but I don't know when it's being broadcast. I think
Christy's awesome as well. So.
Yeah, she is.
Don't they usually send it out live?
No.
Well, they record, I believe. They record.
We're recording tomorrow at 9, so I don't think it'll be on tomorrow anytime. It'll be on Saturday. I mean, I said tomorrow. I meant Friday at 9. We're recording.
Okay, we'll have to look for that. Of course, put out a link on Twitter as soon as it's up.
Yeah, we're going to just pretty much talk about the right-wing extremism that's coming in these days and how it's affecting humanist type of situations and attitudes and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
LBGT, Christie's LBGT as well. She just happens to be much better looking than me, and pretty much most people on Earth.
My hair's growing grey, but it's still not looking like even grey. Christy looks gorgeous. Let's be honest.
Oh, she's got great hair. Wow.
She's
Yeah, she was rather worried about going gray, but yeah, it's good on her.
Mm-hmm. I think gray looks good on most people, unless you're not old. I think it's really silly when people with no wrinkles dye their hair gray. It's like, why are you doing that? You're gonna have to live with that for about 20 years eventually. So why don't you just
I don't want to. Yeah, this is why I've never done like a lot of British guys do, like shave their heads or whatever. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna enjoy my hair while I have it. When it's okay, it's receding a little bit, but when it goes like too ridiculous, yes, then I'll shave my head.
I personally think most men should not be shaving their heads. They just don't look right.
Okay, and Heat Shield has put a link in the YouTube chat for the Leah podcast.
Oh, Heat Shield's so nice. It's an official podcast, huh?
Okay, I'll just.
Thank you, Heat Shield.
You done, Jenny?
Yeah, I just want to say hi to Junie. I missed you, Joni. I'm sorry. Hi, Junie.
Hi, Jenny. Well, I just say, yeah, I have my own channel, God the Scummer. I haven't been too active recently because I just needed to take a little bit of a break, and I'm going to try and get back into doing stuff in the next week or so. But otherwise, I'm going to plug. Come see me on. Go and subscribe to One Ring 42. We did a weekly show, Media Musings, and Kitty's become fairly regular on there recently as well. So if you all like Kitty, as well, come and check out One Ring's channel for Media Musings. We have a lot of good fun on that show. So
I'm sorry. What channel? I missed.
One Ring 42. You know Ring.
Oh, Ring. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I just didn't hear you right.
Yeah, that's just kind of a problem with the time zones because he winds up being up early on Saturday morning.
Yeah, Sunday. So obviously it's Ring, Noodle, myself, and Chaos. Occasionally Jen when she's about. But Kitty's been on the last few weeks as well. So Kitty's becoming a bit of a regular as well. So we all love Kitty as well. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's just the only times that I've actually caught that show are when I hadn't managed to get to bed from the night before yet.
Yeah.
Because he comes on like 6 or 7 a.m. my time.
Yeah, well, it might be. Well, I don't know because it's still morning your time, but he has moved to the East Coast now. So, sorry, hold on. They have moved to because I just realised I misgendered Ring there. Sorry. Yeah, that they've moved to the west to the East Coast now. So.
Anything else?
Yeah, I'm getting a bit of gray hair myself, but most of the hair I had that turned gray was in places I didn't want hair anyway.
I'm done plugging stuff, Mage. If you want to get something in.
Well, I've got my 1 year channel anniversary coming up on the 29th here, so I'll be doing a live stream then. I'm thinking maybe around 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm still not entirely set on the exact time, but
I think you should give away free tomatoes.
I'll probably just do just kind of a hangout kind of thing. If anybody wants to pop in with me, I'll put the links out and see how things go.
Okay.
I want a doggy.
I just gave Molly a new chew toy, which she seems to really like. Like she spent about 3 hours chewing on it straight.
You need to get her like a Donald Trump chew toy and just film her chewing up Trump.
Yeah.
Actually, I think those would sell if you produced them. Especially
Chew toy.
how he seems to hate dogs.
Oh, they do have Trump dog chew toys.
Oh, they do?
I would have been surprised if somebody wasn't making them.
I want a roll of toilet paper with every sheet having his picture on it. So I can get, give him
Yeah.
some nice tan.
I'm sure that's available.
Well, I guess with that, then we will say goodbye to everyone for today.
Goodbye,
we appreciate
everyone.
you all coming and hanging out with us. And of course, I especially want to thank all of my supporters here. We had Junie in the side chat, who has been my channel artist and made all my avatars, and is also sending me money on Patreon. So she's sending me money every month in order to work for me. I think she needs to work on her business model. And Skits Crasher we had with us there. And as Scummer was talking about Kitty the Atheist, and Robert X, the Lavender Lady. Greg Hartwick was here when we started. I don't know if he's still out there. Southern Hemisphere Sal and Vonrek. Appreciate all of you helping me out here.
Hey, could we get a quick Diana report?
I don't know too much. She did live stream last night, and I wound up listening to about the last half hour of it, but I didn't actually get in there to talk to her. Mage, do you have more on her?
She seemed to be doing pretty good.
No, I know she's moved recently. I've just been obviously very busy with my own stuff with my own stuff to kind of keep up. But I did have heard she's moved recently. So
she's moved to New York. She wants to get some gigs on Broadway.
Yeah.
Yep.
She seems maybe a little bit concerned about the cost of getting to dialysis. Is going to be like twice as much.
Now, see, well, it will depend what kind of age she qualifies for there. But there are a lot of programs that will cover those kind of transportation costs.
Yeah, that might be something she might need to look into.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be something that she's going to have to, do some paperwork and argue with a couple of different agencies. But I expect they can find something for her.
Yeah, we're trying to find something like that for me too right now. I haven't been able to see my shrink for 3 weeks because of my dead car.
Are you? I'll talk to you when we get offline here then. So with that, like I said, we appreciate all of you coming. Oh, Antra is saying that Diana was sounding much more chipper.
Yeah.
So we will see all of you then same time next week. Bye-bye, folks.
Don't get caught.
Salute.